Jane Gilchrist.
Jane, how did you get started as an actress?
Well, when I was in high school, I was in the play called Harvey. I played Viva Louise Simmons, who everyone thought was dead, and it was a great deal of fun. I had a wonderful time. And so when I signed up at the University of Iowa the next fall, I said, well, I'd like to take some acting courses. And they said, well, we don't have a drama department, but you can take speech. And then I took English because I wanted to write, too. So I had those two majors.
Great English department at Iowa.
Yeah, there is. And I had Philip Ross as my teacher for a couple of years. He worked on my thesis, which was a novel I wrote, which had the very strange title, Ice in the Sun. Because I don't remember now, but I found at the time that there was something about part of the components of the sun is referred to as ice or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember now. I think I read it in a National Geographic. So I decided that would be my very intellectual title.
Was Vance de Bourjalie a teacher there?
Yeah, Vance Bourjalie was also my teacher.
Great writer.
A great writer about jazz and all kinds of wonderful things. Very much a humanitarian. Went over, I think it was to Bangladesh, and wrote about the problems there. Just a really, really good man. He used to have us out to his farm. We had so much fun.
Oh, because it's so great, because one of my favorite writers, his novel, Last Night at Canterbury, which he took 10 years to write, I believe, is one of the most beautiful novels I've ever written.
I've never read that. I better read that.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And you know what it's about? It's about a Midwestern college drama department.
Oh.
And
that makes sense.
And they've got a good theater department, and they open a new state-of-the-art theater, and they decide to commission from one of their graduates, because they have a music program, an up-and-coming opera writer. And he writes an opera which is all about guys in the South working on a construction crew with tractors and stuff and playing poker. It's very sort of masculine opera. And the guy who runs the English department has had a couple of his novels produced in Hollywood as films, and he met an actress who left Hollywood to be his wife, and she helps them find a director, and they hire this guy named Hoffman, who is calls himself a hack, but of course he's a brilliant director. He's just been around the block a lot, and the whole novel is about him rehearsing this play and getting everybody to reveal their stories. It's really a beautiful novel. So look it up in the library.
I will.
So you're from Iowa originally?
Yeah.
Yes. And how did
Denison, Iowa.
And
birthplace of Donna Reed and some very famous pilot. I can't remember now who was one of the earliest. Made one of the earliest transatlantic flights and all that. Those were our two people.
Famous people.
Whom people had heard of. We had about 5,000 people, and the town still, I've been back a couple times, now it has about 5,500 people.
Was it a farming community?
It is. There's farmers all around. My dad was the city attorney and sometimes the county attorney, and we had a good life there.
I bet. So how did you get from writing a novel with Philip Roth as your thesis advisor to becoming an actress professionally?
Well, I was at the same time I was in the theater department.
Right.
Yeah, and I was studying acting, and I became more and more enamored of it. Eventually, now I write plays as well, because I really put the two things together, creative writing and drama, and I really enjoyed it a whole lot. So I didn't think I could get anywhere, so I just I started teaching. And then I married Pierre Larac, and we came up here to Montreal, and our son got into the drama department at McGill, and he was interested in having me play Lady Bracknell.
Oh,
and I said, sure. And somebody came to that. I got an agent, and I just started acting again.
So when
I was 50.
Well, this was just a few years ago then.
Huh?
Just a few years ago then.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, just a few years ago, yeah. And, but actually at 46 I was in that play and everything, but the real being an actor and being an actor came when I was about 50.
And
yeah.
would you remember what you got your actor card for?
I don't, but I think it could have been for You Are Driving Me Crazy, where I played a Jehovah's Witness. But it could have been a little later than that. I was kind of looking through the record. I was in Rainbow that Bob Hoskins directed, and that was a lot of fun because he was just superb and very funny. And he sounds like that. He is a Cockney.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and he speaks to you that way, and he's very funny. And he said, you have to throw this tomato. And I said, well, you know, I'm not very good at throwing things at people. And the costume person came running up and she said, oh, Mr. Hoskins just doesn't understand how expensive he is. Because she said, if you throw it once and hit, and he doesn't like the way it's done, then we have to take that costume out and clean it again. And he didn't tell us about this. And she was complaining and complaining. So I hit a post right beside the guy. And I said, sorry, Mr. Hoskins, you want to try that again? And he said, no, the look on his face was great. Let's go on.
Right.
So, because I was sort of sorry for
Costume person.
the costume person. I knew her, you know.
Right.
So, anyway, I probably couldn't have hit the guy anyway because I'm not very good at throwing stuff.
Were you writing before you became a professional actress? Were you writing plays?
Yeah, I wrote a play called Radamacue, and that was before I started acting. But since then, my favorite one is Hammer and Tongs, which is a weird sort of a dream play where everybody is deformed and miserable, but everybody winds up happy. And, you know, I really liked that one. And I read a clown show called Primal Broads. And that one we took to the Alumni Theater in Toronto there, you know. And a clown named Dave McKay directed it. And it was a lot of fun to do. Yeah.
Over the years of being an actor member, are there any memorable performances that you've seen that stand out?
Well, what I was blown away by, I guess that's a cliche, but it's really true, was I'm Not There, Todd Haynes' film. And I was in the scene called Riddle, you know, the town of Riddle, where they had an ostrich, and the ostrich always had to have a mask on. And I said, why is that? And they said, because he will charge people. He will go right after them. So they had to take their time, and then. But the idea of these animals, I think there was a giraffe wandering around this town with all these strange people in it. The imagination that went into the town of Riddle was wonderful. And then I had lunch with Richard Gere. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun to talk to him. And all in all, and I played the wife of one of my very dearest friends, Denison, who died about 10 years ago. But he was a wonderful actor and a very good friend, and so we had a lot of fun. There was a bandstand on which we did our scene. Our daughter was in her coffin, but it was up straight so that she could be seen, and we mourned her, and the camera kept coming back to our mourning our daughter. And while it was going on, there was a band on the bandstand playing Bob Dylan music, and playing it so well. Oh, and the whole thing was just, I think it was the biggest thrill of my life to be in that thing. And we were there 3 days. So I had 3 days in the town of Riddle, and
was Todd a nice man?
Pardon? Was
the director a nice man?
Yeah, he was. he chatted with me a little while, you know, and he said, I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few days. So I knew he had me mixed up with somebody else because I was only going to be there those 3 days. But I said, oh yes, I look forward to seeing. I didn't want to contradict him, you know. It's very nice.
What does Actor Fraternal Benefit Society mean to you?
Well, I guess what it means is, well, first of all, I like the idea of fraternity. I hated being in a sorority in college, but I liked the idea of a fraternal agency which is composed of us, and I like the idea of us taking care of each other. And I have always kind of had at the back of my mind, well, if something happens, I will have that to fall back on, which I think is just great. It's great. I believe in supporting the other people who are actors, because they're nice people and they're often kind of vulnerable. One of the questions you gave me on that preliminary thing was, do you have to be eccentric to be an actor? I think almost all of them are pretty eccentric, and they have, you know, different little tics and so forth and so on. And one of them is often a kind of vulnerability that they're always struggling to hide. And so I think we have to be good to each other. I can't stand a snooty actor.
Me either.
Can't stand them, you know? Want to trip them in the hall by accident. Can't stand a snooty actor.
Yeah, I agree. No place for them.
No.
And you know, you can always tell the way people treat those people that too bad for them.
Yeah.
Too bad for them.
That's right.
If you had advice to give to a young actor or actress starting out, what would it be?
Well, I think you should always be on time. Of course, that's maybe the most important thing. You've got to be on time, and I think other than that, if you've learned your lines and if you've thought about what you're going to be doing, if you've seen what your intention is in each of the scenes you're doing, and if you try to relax your voice and your body and everything else, so that you start from a relaxed point of view, and then you're heading into an intention. And if you're angry, you get angry, but you come from relaxation. The only really big problem, I think, that I've had, and that I think people will have if they don't really work at it, was that I thought I knew my lines. I could have sworn I knew my lines. And then, the first time I ever did a scene in front of a camera really warned me that I was going to have to really focus on that for the rest of my days. Because I was playing that Jehovah's Witness, and I had a long speech, and that was it. And all eyes on me. And it was really my first time on a professional set, really, you know, and all eyes on me. I said the first line, and I stopped. And the director just said, well, Jane, this is what we'll do. You relax, have a drink of water, come back, talk for as long as you can, and when you can't do it anymore, just do this with your finger, I'll stop the camera. And it relaxed me so much, because, you know, you do know the lines.
Yes, right.
You do know the lines, but it's a situation. You've got to control yourself in that situation. So I do it. Okay. So learn the lines, be on time, and relax, I guess.
Great. Is there any financial advice you would give to a young actor starting out?
Well, don't assume that you're going to make any money. Just don't assume that. And if you do make money, save some of it. And, I wouldn't give them the advice. You know, David Mamet, you've read his book,
Yes.
Written for Actors, and he says, well, don't have any other job. But I think, you know, that's not realistic. I think you have to have other jobs. I think you have to do other things to keep body and soul together. But he
Do you
doesn't.
still-
He never did.
Do you still write?
Yeah, I do. I wrote a play for the Fringe. I was called Out of the Fog. It was a couple of old biddy school teachers, and I wrote it for myself and my friend Vicky Barkoff. And we had a couple of kids, boys, 10 years old, very nice kids in it. And we did it for the Fringe last summer.
Was it fun?
Huh?
Was it fun?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because Vicky and I love to work together and never really had before that. So we got a chance to get mad at each other on stage, you know, and be very, there were a lot of well, it wasn't physical combat, but it was verbal combat. It was fun.
What's it been like living in Montreal?
The what?
What's it been like living in Montreal? Do you love it here?
Oh, yeah. I grew up in Denison, Iowa, which was very nice, but there was nothing to entertain yourself with but the square dances, you know, and the band concerts. And the plays, the school plays, that was about it. And here there's so much to do. And I love the fact that it's a French community too. My husband is Pierre Larac, so I have sampled both cultures, and then we've got Spanish, I think it's just fantastic to be here. I just really enjoy this city.
And how many years have you lived here?
We came in 76. Before then we were coming summers from 65 on, but we moved when my father-in-law died to take care of my mother-in-law.
What did your husband do?
Well, Pierre is a librarian, and he ran high school libraries, but really what I think he does is read all the time and buy books all the time. And we have the smallest apartment we've ever had, and so every hallway has books along it, you know. I would not allow any in the kitchen. But otherwise, I got books all over the place.
Where did you meet?
We met at the University of Iowa, yeah, where I was taking, you know, theater and writing, and he was in the Spanish department. It's very interesting to live with him because he's a student of history, he's a scholar, and when I want to know something, I just go in and say, "Hey, Pierre, explain this to me." And when I've had enough, I say, "Well, no, that's enough," because, you know, he's almost encyclopedic.
Right.
But this is very nice. It's been handy for the kids, too, over the years.
Was it for you a sort of a small town girl from Iowa meeting an exotic French Canadian? Was that?
Hey, man, that was great.
I bet. Did he have an accent?
I had girlfriends who were so jealous. How come you? And I said, yeah, well, I'm fat, but he thinks I have a moon face that he's in love with. So there, you know. And does he? What was your next question?
Oh, I was saying, did he have a great accent? It must mean in Iowa.
No
sexy.
accent whatsoever.
No?
No, he was not Charboyer.
Oh.
He grew up here, and he went to school in English because his father believed that he could never get ahead in business if he didn't know English. So he went to Loyola College, which was then had a high school as well. His elementary school was French. Pierre has no accent in either language, but he sounds mid-Atlantic in English, you know, because he was with those Jesuits,
Right.
and they talk pretty fancy English, you know, and that's how he picked up his English. So. And his French is very, very good. People think he's from Paris because he decided he was going to teach French, and he took courses in that. But what he eventually wound up doing was mainly teaching Spanish, and then we left the little college town we were in, and he taught in secondary school here in the Montreal area.
And where are you living now? Which part of Montreal?
We live on the plateau. We live at the corner of Saint-Joseph and Ferry.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I used to live on Saint-Joseph and Saint-Denis.
Ah, yeah. Yeah,
It's just
very
like-
close, yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
neighborhood, yes.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
We're very happy there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
well,
awesome.
he wouldn't have, when we finally had to leave the building that we inherited from his dad because we had sold it and stayed on in the apartment, but then eventually the man wanted it for his family. So we moved, but Pierre said, it has to be Plateau Montréal.
Mm.
He said, I'd like to take you to Westmount. I said, no, thank you. Because I like Plateau Montréal.
Mm.
So I said, we can both be happy.
You're bilingual?
Un petit peu, mais pas beaucoup. I get along okay,
Right,
but I just don't use it enough.
right, right.
We always had English at home. My little daughter, when she went to French school, which she went all to French school all the way through, you know, when she came home to the apartment, to the downstairs to the door, she said, what I say, Mommy, is, okay, no more French, now it's English, and then I come upstairs. And I think it was mainly because Pierre hates to hear me in French. When I order at a restaurant, you know, he really does this. He won't admit it, but he does. I start to order in French, and he goes, like that. He does. And he's still doing it. We went to the Saint-Hubert barbecue the other day, and I caught him doing it. He was still doing it. Because he thinks my French is so awful.
My girlfriend, I had a separatist girlfriend when I was in Montreal, and she would get so angry with people that when I would try to speak French to them and they would answer me in English, she'd get so angry with them.
Oh yeah, Pierre wouldn't like that either.
Yeah. She said,
No.
He's trying. My
Yeah.
French was so bad, and they would go,
Yeah.
they speak to me in English. It's Actra's 70th birthday this year. So we've been asking everyone to say happy birthday, Actra. Would you do that to the camera, please? To the camera.
Right here.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Actra.
Thank you.
And many happy returns, and thank you. Okay?
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.